Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. We're back. Can you guys hear me? Hopefully we don't have any more snafus. Corroborate. Hopefully we don't have any more snafus. Welcome back to J is for Justice. My name is Jay. I'm your host. And today's case, we are going to be going over Courtney Clenney, the OnlyFans model, who is accused of stabbing her boyfriend to death in Miami. Welcome back, Olive Juice, and everyone else who is coming back into the chat. Loud and clear, says Heaven Reigns. Hey, Heaven Reigns.
Did I ask them to do that?
Yeah, you guys might ban me from having any Daryl Brooks sound bites because he is so annoying. So let's get into this case, you guys. I've been really wanting to cover this, and today was a really good time to do it. But before I do, I want to remind you that tonight on the 411, What's the 411 with Jay, which is on my second channel, we have a premiere. Hello, we have a premiere tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Potato and I. We missed HJ this week. But we will get her back in the saddle real soon. But it's going to be Potato and I in our airheaded moments. You won't want to miss it. So go over there, and the event is up. Go ahead and click that notification reminder, whatever they call it these days. And we'll see you over there in the chat tonight. It'll be funny. It'll be funny. Now this, not so funny. This is Courtney Clenney, and TMZ got video of her through the condo window. And this is what they captured right after she stabbed her boyfriend. So let's watch this. I did slow it just a touch. Here, let's mute it. But that poor dog witnessed this whole thing. It breaks my heart. Both those dogs. I showed this before. I went over this before, I believe, when it happened. She's covered in blood. And those dogs just want out. It makes me sick. See her covered in blood. Nasty. Nasty, nasty. It's bad. You got to wonder what she's saying at this point, right? And now there's body cam of her calling the police before this happened, saying that he was stalking her. It gets crazy. I don't know how they even caught this through the window. I mean, how did anyone know this was even going to happen? That's what's weird to me. Yeah, me too, HJ. She's handcuffed here. Unless someone was listening to the scanner, I guess. But gosh darn, I mean, that's some quick movement on TMZ's part. A neighbor filmed it, Casey? Okay, I wasn't sure how they got that. Craziness. They saw the commotion going on. I want to get right into the press conference, but I wanted to ask you guys, do you guys want to listen to the whole thing? Because they give information about the incident, and then now she's singing a different tune, and there's body cam that goes along with the tune she's singing. And the name of the boyfriend is Christian, and he goes by Toby Abumsel. But this press conference is from August the 11th. So it's pretty old, but it's the first and only press conference that we've gotten. And then we have her in court. But this is the Miami police. So let me know if you guys want to watch the whole thing. If so, I'll roll that footage. Judy says, you know how many rock stars and movie stars are on that OnlyFans? No, I've never been on it. I've never been on it, but these girls make a lot of money. And then there's the video of them in the elevator that came out early on, showing her like beating on him. But now this body cam and everything, she sings a different tune. So is it a case where they were both abusive? Is it more him, more her? Is it just him, just her? Nobody knows. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch it play out. She's due in court in December. So we've got about a month until she goes to trial. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll this so we can compare the information given then versus the information given now. And we're going to go over to Obamsely. Okay, Obamsely. You know me and my pronunciations. All right, let's listen to the Miami cops. She's a badass too. She is a badass cop. Like, this lady scares me. Scary. Don't commit crimes in Miami. You have to face off with this lady.
The chief medical examiner of Miami-Dade County determined that Christian's cause of death was a stab to the chest. Christian was stabbed as the knife punctured the subclavian artery in his right chest. If you look over here for just a second to either one of these screens, you will see a good idea of how large that subclavian artery is within the human heart. The chief medical examiner further determined that the knife entered Christian's chest in a downward angle to the depth of 3 inches.
Yikes, 3 inches. Words,
the medical examiner has indicated that the fatal knife wound which entered Christian's chest was the result of a forceful downward thrust penetrating 3 inches into that artery you just saw. You'll see there on those screens on either side how deep that 3 inches is.
Did that just repeat
itself? Doesn't sound
itself?
like but it was certainly enough to kill him. This homicide has gained some notoriety since the defendant, Clenney, is an internet social media personality and influencer under the name of Courtney Taylor. Evidence gathered during the investigation of Christian's death showed that since November of 2020, he and the defendant, Clenney, had been involved in an extremely tempestuous and combative relationship.
2 years they were involved in a bad relationship.
It was learned that the security and building staff at the Miami apartment documented many incidents of loud arguments between the couple after they moved into the building in January of 2022. Tenants as far as 2 floors above.
I have an interview
2 floors above
of the
were
neighbor.
Making complaints to security and building management about the noises and the ruckus. This problem had, in fact, had the building management moving toward evicting the couple from the building because of these many noise complaints. From the apartment elevator building, you will see that on February 21st, 2022 incident, a month after the couple moved into the building, So let's play that video if we could now.
Oh, here's
If you
the
look at
video
either
of her,
screen,
them in the elevator.
You'll now see the video.
Don't mess with this lady. Do not mess with this lady.
Did I ask them to do that?
Oh, really, Casey? Okay, it's about 20. There's about 20 more minutes left total in this. She's getting irritated with the IT department at the moment. I would not want to be on her IT department. They're taking entirely too long. She just sighed real big. They had one job.
That's them entering their apartment. You can see,
Let's see it.
you'll draw your own conclusion, but it certainly appears that the defendant was aggressively attacking Christian. Such interactions appear to have caused Clenney and Christian to separate at various times in their relationship, including the last week of March 2022, when Clenney expelled Christian from the apartment. This occurred while Clenney's mother, Deborah Clenney, who was in town and staying in the apartment. Defendant Clenney and Christian then rekindled their relationship on Friday, April 1st, 2022, after her mother left to go home to Texas. At that time, Christian moved back into the apartment. Arguments began almost immediately, with police responding to the apartment. Police reported that Clenney appeared intoxicated when she was contacted on the evening of April 1st, 2022. This was 2 days before the homicide.
Okay, we have that body cam.
On Sunday, April 3rd, 2022, the day of Christian's death, events started peacefully, with the couple filming themselves with their dogs in the apartment. A key fob for the records showed that Christian left the apartment at 1:15 p.m. and returned about 3 hours later at 4:32 p.m. with sandwiches that he had bought for both of them. So what we've done here now, if you look at the screens, you'll see there a timeline. While you look at it, I'm going to try to go through it because the timing is very important to understand in this case. So at 4:01, Clenney called Christian. Then she goes live on Instagram. And then at 4:33 p.m., she called him again, shortly after posting the video. At 4:33 p.m., Christian walks into the apartment. 10 minutes later, at 4:43 p.m., Clenney called her mother. That call lasted till about 4:49 p.m., just over 6 minutes. At 4:49, Clenney made a second call, almost immediately, to her mother.
Why is
They
she calling her
spoke
mom?
Until 4:56 p.m., a little over 7 minutes. I think at 4:57 p.m., Clenney calls 911. At 4:57, police officers exit the elevator at the unit. Christian's stabbing must have occurred between 4:33 p.m., when he returned to the apartment with those sandwiches, and at 4:57 p.m., when the defendant, Clenney, called 911. Also, at the same time,
she was on the phone with her
during
mom.
that period of time, that being 4:33 p.m. to 4:57 p.m., neighbors began calling the building manager about a disturbance at the apartment. Security called 911 at 4:46, notifying them of the disturbance.
She killed him and then called her
Later,
mommy.
At 4:57, defendant Clenney called 911 to tell the police that Christian was suffering from a stab wound and needed help. On that 9/11 call, Christian can be heard in the background.
Yeah, we have that 911 call too. So she called her mom before calling 911. Is that what I'm understanding?
Repeatedly saying that he was dying and he was losing feeling in his arm. Defendant Clenney is also heard saying, "I'm so sorry, baby." In her telephone statement to the police on the date of the incident, Clenney's mother stated she heard her daughter yelling at Christian, remember she's on the phone with her, telling him to leave the apartment, and she heard defendant Clenney saying that Christian was lying. Later, in her what we call post-Miranda recorded statement to the police, defendant Clenney admitted to having caused Christian's injury, also provided several inconsistent accounts about the incident itself. After an argument, defendant Clenney claims and says that Christian shoved her against the wall by the neck, and although he did not actually choke her, then she says he threw her to the ground but allowed her to get up. And it was at that point that defendant Clenney went to a kitchen area and got the knife. As Christian sort of approached her, she threw the knife at him from a distance that she's estimated to be about 10 feet. The police observed no visible injuries, which would have corroborated her account, and she had no injuries. In describing the stabbing incident, at no time did defendant Clenney claim Christian was armed with any type of a weapon. And based on the location of the stab of the wound, the medical examiner opined, in other words, it was her opinion, that throwing the knife from that distance would not have caused that
Oh yeah,
fatal
she
stab
claims
wound,
to have thrown it
but
across the
rather
room.
that it was a downward strike with a knife could have only caused that fatal stab to the artery that led to the Christian's bleeding to death. The violent and toxic 2-year relationship of Christian Obumseli and Courtney Clenney did not have to end in tragedy.
No,
with
blow it up
Christian's
away,
murder
Casey.
as a victim of domestic violence. Personal relationships should never involve domestic violence. And make no mistake about it, domestic violence is a crime. No one should tolerate it. Men are often, unfortunately, unwilling to come forward as victims of domestic violence.
So true.
Or of intimate violence, it is sometimes called. The sequence of domestic violence events can be broken, but it takes a first step. That first step needs to be taken. If anyone is caught in a domestic, dangerous, violent situation, please know that there's a strong, huge safety net of resources and shelters in
Men
this
are
community
embarrassed to
that
come
are
out.
available. If you are, of course, in an emergency situation, you've got to call 911, but you can also call your state attorney's domestic violence resource line. It's available 24/7.
You know what they need
days
to
a week
do?
at 305-547-0143.
They need to make a male domestic violence hotline for just males, because I think it's really, really hard for men to reach out for help. A, and B, really super hard for them to reach out to a domestic violence hotline that is really geared towards females. I mean, let's face it. The pamphlets show females. It's always the female. So maybe we need to get rid of that stigma and make kind of a separate line. You know what I mean? Some kind of separation between the two so that they feel more comfortable coming forward. Because I think what they need is just that comfort level of not being embarrassed, because men are raised, you know, to be man's man. And it's just, that's why it doesn't get reported. It's embarrassing, and we need to make it not embarrassing.
We can and we want to help. If you're in need of shelter or services, you can call Miami-Dade County
Really? In the
Victims
UK? The UK
Assistance
is always
Center
ahead
helpline
of the
for
times here
assistance
and
at
stuff.
305-285-5900. And you'll see up on their screens, there is a QR code. Any one of you can just, that's watching this, you can just put your phone with the camera app right on that QR code. It will immediately go into a domestic violence resource line for you. So at this time, I'm going to ask our distinguished chief of police.
Oh, wow,
Heidi
Angie.
Morales, to come and say.
That's really shocking, actually. How long ago?
Thank you, Madam State Attorney. Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, he's a big boy.
This was an extremely difficult investigation, an extremely challenging situation to be in. I want to first give my condolences publicly to the Broussard family. And I know it's kind of tough pill to swallow when it takes this length of time to try to bring justice, at least to this chapter of what is going to be a long saga. However, I do have to give credit to the men and women from the homicide unit that diligently worked the case. And I
Don't
wanna
let it
remind
happen
everybody
again,
out
Leo. Just
right?
kidding.
That whether it's domestic or
Did I
any
ask
other
them to
type
do
of
that?
violence, the Miami Police Department will not stand by on the sidelines. The Miami Police Department will come to the aid of the victims and do everything within our power to get justice for them. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank our partners at the U.S. Marshal Service that brought the defendant into justice. And we'll be here to support every step of the prosecution, and with capable personnel from the State Attorney's Office, we're looking forward to a successful prosecution in this case. Thank you.
They want to take her down.
And at this time, we'd ask Larry Hanfield to please say a few words on behalf of the family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Umbocelli family, Jeffrey and Karen, who flew in from Dallas and Houston, Texas, respectively, this is a day that they only hoped for. It's very, very sad, and they are dealing with the pain as we speak. But I want to personally thank the state
I
attorney's
wonder if they
office,
knew there was
Kathy
abuse in their
Fernandez-Rundle,
relationship.
who is a tremendous treasure to this town, for once again showing the type of leadership for every citizen for Miami-Dade County, and the leadership of the City of Miami Police Department for their commitment to bringing this day into reality.
Imagine if they
as
only
well as
believed the
U.S.
woman.
Marshal's Office for bringing to justice the arrest of the defendant. We always believed that with a thorough and fair investigation that this day would come into reality.
We just started, Leo. You're not
This
behind.
is such a relief for the family, but it gives restored hope that even though delayed, justice will still come. On behalf of Cedric Johnson, who's part of my investigative team, Kathleen Hogue, Chief Assistant State Attorney, and Kalia, we are very indebted to the commitment.
Do you guys want to finish this? Because I'm thinking, well, let's go back when she talks, the cop. Here we go.
We'll take questions in English, then we'll break down and we'll go into Spanish.
They're very
questions?
thorough with the questions.
Clenney's attorney said yesterday in a statement that they have been working hand in hand with your office. He was disappointed in the way that she was apprehended while she was in rehab, and that you could just give you notice and she would surrender. Has she been cooperative, and to what level?
You know, I truly understand Mr. Prieto's feelings on that, because when we can, when we feel it's safe and appropriate in cases, we do work with the defense to surrender their clients. This was a little more unusual, though, in the sense that she was far away, and I'm told that she was on a remote island. So as much as we would have liked to have done that, we felt that the prudent thing to do, that the right
Get your
thing
vote
to
in
do
on the kitty name.
was to go and
We've
get
only
her
got
and
49
secure
votes.
her presence. Now as we move forward, we'll be as cooperative as we possibly can, and I hope that she will and he will with us.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like
Hi,
much
Raj.
luck.
Number one, was she on the phone with her mom?
Was she on the phone with
We
her
believe
mom?
that she was.
What's the question?
That video that you played.
The elevator.
Yes.
Yes.
Describe the significance of that video because you may have some say, what does that really show? It was
What's the significance of the elevator video?
Well, remember, the video is not in isolation because you have a lot of folks that live in the building. You have a lot of documentation from the building management, security folks. The video, we felt, was just a very descriptive way to show what the relationship was and who was the aggressor. Also, I mean, you come to your own conclusions, all of you will, the public will, the jury will, as to what they saw in that video. But we thought that was a significant reflection.
Well, they're going to have to show
of
everything.
what everyone
in
was
court.
telling the police and everyone was a very combative, it was a domestic violence relationship.
But the thing is, if they were both abusive, this could have ended with her being dead or him being dead. I mean, one of them it was kind of inevitable that one of them would kill the other if they're both this toxic.
Yes.
Describe to us what might have been some of the factors that contributed to not initially arresting her off the bat.
Okay, so why did they not initially arrest her off the bat is the question.
About the problems in the building. We heard about the complaints, the neighbors, the loud fighting, whatever it was that she said when the police got there, and the blood all over the house. So why does it take this long for there to be an arrest?
Yeah, I leave that up to my police professionals as to why they did that, and we did do a warrant.
I have a feeling that there wasn't an initial arrest because she was a white blonde and he was a black man. That's what I think. I mean, you have a scene like that and you have someone dead and they don't take someone into custody with all the numerous calls. That's a little crazy, but look at Leilani's free. Leilani's free. I've never seen someone be named a number one suspect and be free. I've only seen people named number one suspects and like they're on the run and they're trying to find them and they want the public's help. I've never seen anything quite like that.
But I believe a lot of it may have had to do with the gathering all of that information and reading it and having copies and then getting the medical examiner's report. Did you have a better answer than
Did I ask them to do that?
Our detectives know that sometimes you only get one shot at it, and you want to get it right. Because we want to make sure that we do everything right by the book to ensure the family gets the justice they deserve. So as you're reviewing it, you have only one side, and the definitive evidence is coming from the medical examiners, the subpoenas that we get from the phone, the conversation, the texts. That video was not initially available to us, so as we begin to put the case, we know that we have to put a comprehensive case, bring it to the state attorney's office with something that's solid to pursue a charge, especially in a murder case.
Okay, so it took them 4 months
Everybody involved.
to arrest her.
About the great work that's been done by everybody standing there. The family, to your immediate right, and his family members complained to us that they had to learn about this death through the medical examiner's office. and
Oh.
not the Miami Police Department.
Oh, did you hear that? He said that the family had to hear about his death through the medical examiner's office. The police department never contacted them.
You explain that.
Absolutely, and my apologies to the families for learning
Horrible.
about the horrific act that happened to one of their family members from the medical examiner, not us. Our homicide detectives contacted a local department in Texas to have an individual in person from a law enforcement agency be the one to deliver the news. Anytime that we have a homicide, a standard operating procedure to make contact in person. When you're talking about the death of someone, you don't want to get a phone call.
We'll
So
follow up, make sure
we
they
reached
do
out
it.
to that department, and It got lost in the transfer of information, and before we were able to send the local department to contact the family to put them in touch with us to deliver the news, they were reached out by the medical
Like, what the
examiner.
fuck is this? And everybody's like, what the fuck is this?
El español viene después.
I have one last question. There appears to be two critical pieces of evidence here, in that Clenney lied about throwing a knife according to the medical examiner's office.
Okay, the first thing is he said there appears to be two critical pieces of evidence here. First, she lied about throwing the knife.
The second thing is that she lied about being thrown to the ground. Is that accurate?
She also lied about being thrown to the ground, and he said, "Is that accurate?"
So, yes, there's no physical evidence that led us to believe that she was actually physically harmed in any way the day of the incident.
So here they admit that she was not physically harmed in any way, yet she had his blood all over her, and he was dead, and they couldn't arrest her?
Like, what the fuck is this? And
For you, Mr. Harry. I, from the family's perspective, they have been this whole time shocked to hear what she was trying to say this was, an act of Christians starting things and, in self-defense. How relieved are they to really know now, that there is evidence like this and going forward she was arrested? Can you talk about the relief from the family right now?
How relieved is the family knowing that there's evidence of this going forward?
Thank you. Good question. They are very, very, with great appreciation, relieved to hear that the true facts are finally coming out. They always knew, and we knew through our investigation, that the defendant had a history of being the aggressor throughout the relationship. She had a history of attacking the deceased. And so therefore, what you saw in the elevator was just an isolated glimpse of a pattern of conduct that was demonstrated by the defendant in this case. Her counsel, as a defense attorney, has indicated in social different medias that she was also a victim of human trafficking and domestic violence. Clearly, the evidence is going to show that there is no evidence to support any of those. We believe that once all the evidence is made public and come out, I'm confident in the state attorney's office, I'm confident in the investigation, and I'm confident that continued justice will be done.
To that point, this question to the state attorney. Clenney's attorney did say yesterday that the charges are an injustice because she is a victim of domestic violence and human trafficking. Can you explain where the human trafficking element comes from?
Did you ask him?
I did.
Okay. Then
waiting for a
he's the best person to answer that question. I don't mean to be flip, because you know how I feel about human trafficking. I've been, just a trailblazer in that area, and we have a real issue in Miami-Dade County and in Florida of human trafficking. Florida ranks number 2 in the United States in human trafficking.
Why are they talking about
Miami's
trafficking
number
now?
1, and we have the only human trafficking center that I'm aware of in the United States here. So I take human trafficking allegations very seriously. You know what happens at this point? We have the evidence that we have with the police, and it's going to be a continuing process from this day forward. So the defense attorney will, of
I don't even
course,
understand where
make
she
his
went with
case,
that.
And he'll present his evidence, and both sides will then proceed with this whole process. We won't be doing this in the media. This belongs in the court of law.
Okay, they're not going to be trying her in the media, they say. If you guys can subscribe to that channel, Empower, Justice and Empowerment, that was just in chat. When I get to 1,000 subs, I'm going to have a huge giveaway. So please subscribe. That's where I'm going to be streaming court trials and shiz. And I need to be able to live stream. All right, our next portion of this. Wow. So that is a lot to take in, right? So That's the first press conference after she was finally arrested in August. This happened. She accused him of trafficking her? What? I had no idea she had those accusations out there. That's new to me. Holy hell. Okay, let's watch this.
6, the woman accused in her boyfriend's stabbing death made her first appearance.
Oh, wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Here is a former neighbor describing what it was like living below this couple.
It's a painting that's uncomfortable to look at, angry and chaotic. It's the same way Aiden Nesvitsky says it arrived on his balcony.
And it came crashing down, and it was pretty scary. And
Nesvitsky says his neighbors threw the painting onto his 10th floor balcony during a violent dispute from their penthouse apartment. Fights were frequent in the nearly 2 years they lived above him.
Behind closed doors, we just started hearing some shouting, yelling. We don't know who was starting what. We didn't get a lot of context. Occasionally we would hear some glasses break and some banging on the walls, floors. Not sure, who was doing it.
Thursday, authorities in Florida charged Nesvitsky's former neighbor, 26-year-old social media star Courtney Clenney, with stabbing her boyfriend, Christian Toby Abumseli, to death.
I just want people to know that it had been going on for a long time, and it definitely could have been stopped.
Nesvitsky says police were called on the couple multiple times when they lived here at Berkshire Riverview in South Austin. But when they moved to Florida earlier this year, Miami State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rundle says the violence continued, getting so bad their building was prepared to evict them.
The violent and toxic 2-year relationship of Christian Obumseli and Courtney Clenney did not have to end in tragedy with Christian's murder as a victim of domestic violence.
That's why Nesvitsky, whose former roommate now keeps the tiger in a storage locker, says he's talking about the tumultuous 2 years he spent living alongside, even attending a music festival with a couple he says otherwise seemed friendly and normal.
It is domestic violence. I mean, if you hear something